Hi, this is Maria, and with me is AMIRA LOUTFI. We're here from MetaStellar, and this is the MetaStellar YouTube channel. Welcome back. If you're new here, we're an online publication that publishes original science fiction, fantasy, and horror. And every Friday, AMIRA and I read the top 10 sci-fi and fantasy books on Amazon. At least we read the beginnings of these books. There's 10 books, so we'll only get so far. And today's list has Mars mining, it has zombies, it's got shapeshifters, it's got epic fantasy, it's got hard sci-fi, it's got urban fantasy and romance. Today's list has everything. The link to the article is in the description below. So let's get to the first book. And it is, I think, AMIRA, you read this one, right? The wolf one, A Wild Wolf by J.K. Harper. Let me pull up that cover for you guys. There it is. Look at that sexy baby.
Yeah. He's got the twist going on.
Oh my God, yeah.
Look in his eye. His eyes are like, he has like these beady eyes that are just bugging out really dangerously.
All right, so what'd you think?
Surprisingly, I loved it. I was not expecting to love it, but I'm like, whoa, this is a really good one. How is it so good? I'm confused. So yeah, so that's basically like my reaction. I also learned a lot because I've been writing a story myself about like a wolf shifter, and I mean, I just got a bunch more good ideas that I could like totally use in my own story.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. So this is the fourth book in the 9-book Black Mesa Wolves paranormal shifter romance series. The first book, Guardian Wolf, is also free. The rest cost $2.99 to $4.99 each. They are not in Kindle Unlimited. And we reviewed the second book in the series, Hunting Wolf, back in March. I don't remember liking that. I think I'm the one who read that. But A, could be they're different books. B, I hate this genre. So I am so glad we've got you to review these because I am all werewolf shifted out. All right, so let's go on to the second book in the series, and that one is A Christmas Miracle Story. Okay, so I don't have anything against Christmas miracle stories in theory. I mean, usually there's something there about the true meaning of Christmas, family or kindness for others, or something like that. As opposed to just, going to church or literally believing in the literal story of Jesus's birth. Because, when you start getting too literal with the Bible, you start getting problematic. So this book seems to be, to me, seems to be too focused on the external trappings of Christianity and not enough on the internal kind of kindness for mankind, forgiveness, that aspect of it. That now maybe it's because I didn't get far enough into the book. But so the story here is this 9-year-old boy, a little spoiled. His parents buy him too many presents, and he kind of, throws kind of like annoying tantrums kinds of things, and his parents bribe him with gifts and food. And the one nice thing he does is he gives away his food to a homeless veteran on the way home from the Disney store in Times Square. So he does it. So the kid has like one redeeming characteristic here, is that he does something nice for somebody. And later that night, that homeless veteran shows up in his bedroom on the 10th floor of an apartment building, claims to have come in through the window, and he's really an angel. And he's going to take this kid to learn about the true meaning of Christmas by literally taking him back to, that night in Bethlehem when Jesus Christ was born. So, like I said, that I don't think that's the true meaning of Christmas, but to each his own. Meanwhile, the FBI is called in because the kid's missing. And the FBI agent is about to kill himself. His wife died on Christmas Eve 2 years before, and his wife was a big churchgoer and into all the external trappings of Christianity. Again, this is where I'm like, it's supposed to be about the internal stuff. But anyway, the FBI guy gets a text message that there's a missing kid. He puts down the gun that he was about to shoot himself with, and he goes off to try to find this kid. So that's the setup for the story. And the writing is readable. I care a little bit about the FBI guy. He's got a little bit of a tragic past. Don't care too much about the kid. He does seem a little spoiled. Don't like the angel at all. That's just weird. I mean, he has the kid jump out the window with him of a 10th floor apartment. That cannot be a good lesson. That if a random stranger shows up in your bedroom, that it's okay to jump out the window with him. No, it's not. This book is not for children. Yeah, if this is your kind of story, definitely it's readable. It's very sweet. So it's a little bit too sweet for me. And like I said, seems to be focused a little too much on the external aspects of Christianity as opposed to the internal ones. So I'm not going to be reading it. Also, I'm not really the target audience for this. Next up, it's not part of a series. It's a standalone book. The author's previous book, Army of God, was described as Noah's Ark meets Game of Thrones. So he's a religious writer, and his bio mentions how he's all into Christianity and stuff. But the Army of God also had excellent reviews. So a lot of people like his writing and like his books. All right, next we have A House Divided. Here's the cover of the book by Nicole Ciacchella. First book in a 5-book romantic fantasy series. The other books are $3.99 each and are not in Kindle Unlimited. And so, AMIRA, what did you think?
This one gets a thumbs down for me. There we go. It is basically like, there were some things about it that I liked, and at moments I did feel like I was getting pulled into the story, but ultimately, no, like if I wasn't like trying to write a review about this book, I would not have read it. Mm-hmm. So basically the plot is about this, it's about this girl who lives in a trade city, and in this world there's this type of magic called adept, and I don't really know what the magic is or what it does. The only way that it impacts the plot and the story is not through like the magic itself, but through its impact on like the socioeconomic structure of their society, right? So this girl is really unpopular, and she's unpopular because she doesn't have any magical powers, even though her parents do. So people kind of look down on her, and they view her as being like unworthy or undeserving of her social status, right? And of like maybe belonging to her family even. And her father really wants her to marry this guy that she grew up with who's really annoying. There's a really annoying guy in this story, and he's like really handsome and attractive, but he just has like an annoying personality. For example, like he gets her a gift, and when he's about to give it to her, he just like raises it above his head so she can't reach it, and that's just
Oh, that is
really,
the
really
worst. I
like,
hope she kills
yeah.
him.
Me too. I mean, I feel like that's a great way to just illustrate how annoying this character is, you know? Um, but yeah, so we begin with that's like the opening scene, right? It's just all about him and how she's supposed to marry him and she doesn't want to. And then later on, somebody dies. It seems like a suicide, and this other character is called in. His name is what, Keela or something, or Key, something with a K. But yeah, anyway, there you go. There's a story. So one of the things I did like about it is I liked some of the world building, and I like the fact that the magic is affecting is the magic is what makes certain families like really powerful and wealthy. It makes they find a way to become more wealthy using their magic. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, but other than that, I wouldn't really recommend it. Sorry, Nicole. Sorry, Nicole.
All right, let's go on to the next one, and that one is called Touched by Magic. It's my second favorite book on today's list. So it's set in Asia somewhere. It's described as, the setting's described as Penang's old town. And I think that's in the Philippines. I had to Google it. I'm not good at Philippine geography. And Apia has a tiny bit of magical ability, not much. She's from London, but she's of Asian heritage, so she's gone back to Asia to work. And she speaks the local language fluently, but with a London accent. So, in this old town, people ask her, where is she really from? And in London, where she was born and raised, people are also asking her, where is she really from? And as an immigrant myself, who had like a thick accent earlier on in my life, that is really annoying when people keep asking you, well, where are you really from? Like, I'm from here, yeah. Anyway, so I kind of sympathize with that. So she works so she's really good with a cutthroat razor. So at first I was hoping that it meant like she's good at killing people, but no, she's a barber. And her job is like working in this magical barbershop where her patrons are werewolves, and she's cutting like fur and feathers and all sorts of stuff from a whole variety of magical beings, which is a lot of fun. And so these two clients come in, and they are pari pari, which I Googled but couldn't find any information about this. So the way the book describes them, they're something like fairies, and they lay eggs. And they give her an egg, and they want the barbershop's owner, who does stuff for the magical community, to get it to London somehow. And they're scared, there's something dangerous going on. And on behalf of her boss, she accepts the assignment, and she takes this magical egg. And so this is my second most favorite book on today's list. I love the world building. I love the setting. It's super interesting. I love like learning about the magical cultures of various parts of Asia, because like magical people are showing up from like all around the region in this barbershop. That's really cool. And I love the all the cultural stuff, the being an expat, going back to kind of where your family's from, and all that stuff. And she's really cool, and she's snarky, and she's got pink, her hair is dyed pink, and all that stuff. So I really like this book. I'm really enjoying the writing style, and it does kind of start a little slowly, but I like it. It has a very kind of what do you call it? Cozy kind of feel. So it's not like hardcore action, but it's nice. And sometimes, you know, you want something nice. And the next one, we're back to you, AMIRA. And this was A Feast of Phantoms, first of 3 books in the Lingua Magica steampunk fantasy series. The other books are $3.99 each and are not in Kindle Unlimited. The 3rd book is not out yet. It's due in February, but you can pre-order it. All right. So AMIRA, what did you think?
I think that I love Westerns, and I just didn't realize it. That's what I think. Like growing up, I always assumed Westerns are for boys, and they're slow and they're boring. But yeah, but now it's like, oh my gosh, I love this. So I love the you know, the setting, right? We have Deputy Ruth Cortez living in this really small town in the middle of a prairie by a railroad. And, you know, there's just like a lot of desert also, right? And it's just like, God, it's just so, so beautiful, you know? So, something about that, something about like just a desolate desert town. Can a town be surrounded by desert and prairie?
I
Are
could.
those contradictory? Sorry, I'm not very big on like, you know, nature. Not very knowledgeable about nature. But anyway, so it's either desert or prairie. Please excuse me. I think that it might be the like maybe desert on one side, prairie on the other side. But it's awesome. And I love it. And I love the protagonist here. She starts out like the first scene where we come into the story and we meet her. She is digging a well for an old man who lives by himself, and then he also is asking her. He also asks her to, you know, cut up some like some firewood or something. Cut up some wood. I don't know, whatever. And she's like, you know, thinking about like how she's gonna get all these things done and how much more time, you know, and like how she's thinking, like, okay, maybe I can get this done tomorrow. So what I really like about her is that she is taking her, like, this person's needs seriously, and she's trying to like fulfill their expectations of her, right? And what he's asking her to do. And he's just like this lonely old man. He lives alone. So she feels like it's the right thing to do. And I'm just like, she's so kind. She's so like, you know, self-effacing, right? Right. So I feel like she's kind, she's self-effacing, she's not petty. She's like the opposite of petty, right? To, you know, to do something kind of mundane like that, but for a good reason, like for a, you know, in as a form of kindness, I feel like that is just the opposite of petty. It is just so, it's just a beautiful thing to me, right? And then she is called away by the sheriff's son, and they're like around the same age, right? They're like in their 20s. And they go to the depot for the trains, right? They meet Sebastian, and he's someone who works for this really powerful family, right? And the little town that she lives in depends on like that family and their business. And so she's kind of like, she kind of works for them indirectly. Um, and yeah, and so she has to go with Sebastian um, to help him like transfer this prisoner. And the prisoner is only 18, and he's like the most wanted man in like 3 different areas, 3 territories, whatever it was. Um, and yeah, and you know, they're just gonna go on an adventure within like a beautiful setting, but like personally. Like I love the descriptions of like the desert and stuff. And yeah, and just like just a cool character. Who's a
So
cool
is there
character.
magic in this?
Yes, yes. The prisoner is he can like speak to ghosts.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. But there is magic. I'm just like man. But yeah, apparently I'm a fan of westerns. I think I'm gonna explore this a bit more, this genre.
All right. So that was your big learning for today.
Yeah, blew my socks off.
All right, let's switch to the next book on this list, and that
Okay.
is this one. Let me pull that up a little closer so you can see that. It's called Apocalypse by Devon Ford. First of 6 books in the Toy Soldiers series of post-apocalyptic zombie survival. Other books are $10 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. So your Kindle Unlimited subscription is going to mean that you can read all those books for free or without paying anything more other than your Kindle Unlimited subscription. I'm not a fan of zombies or of apocalypses, so I was very glad and happy, AMIRA, that you took this one.
Yeah, I know. I'm starting to feel like we complement each other so well because I like want to read the romances and I enjoy dystopian literature. Yeah, which those are like the things you hate. I'm
Yeah,
just like, all right, this is working out well how we did this. Um, okay, so in general, how do I feel about Apocalypse? Personally, I don't think it's really that special. I'm not sure why it's called Toy Soldiers, right? Like that kind of makes it sound like there's something, you know, weird going on with the soldiers. I didn't get too deep into the part with the soldiers in the military. Basically, okay, so basically it starts out like the prologue is really cool. It's disgusting, but it's really cool. There's a guy who's like trapped in a house and he's using the tine of a pitchfork to poke zombies in the brain, right? So all it takes is like just to poke the brain and they're gone. And I'm like, huh, like I kind of like that idea that it's just like one tap and they're done, you know? I feel like usually you have to like shoot them in the head, you have to explode the brain or whatever, or you know, cut it at least a third of the way through, right? Isn't that usually how it seems
I
to
do
be?
not know. I have stayed away from zombies.
Yeah, but I mean that's the impression that I'm under. I'm definitely not an expert, but yeah, in this book, it's like just one tap on a zombie's brain and you've defeated it. And so that's what this guy's doing, and I'm just like, so interesting. Disgusting, but interesting. And then he hears like behind him in the house that there's a zombie in the house with him. And I'm just like, oh man. Oh boy.
Of course there is.
What?
Of course there's a zombie in the house.
Oh, hey.
Every horror book, the monster is in the house.
With these indie authors, you never know.
Right?
You never know, right?
It's an
But
indie
yeah,
author?
I think so. Aren't all of them indie? I assume all of the Free Friday folks are indie authors. Am I wrong?
No, it's whoever sets their book to free. I mean, if
Oh,
a big publisher wants to do it, they can.
okay.
But usually the indie authors are more on top of it. So when they have a series coming in, they'll set the first book to free so people can like get into the whole series. But anybody can do it.
Okay.
Like anybody who's
Okay.
marketing
All
savvy
right.
can do
So,
it.
yeah, yeah. It is a good idea.
Mm.
What else? Oh, right. So the prologue was like disgusting but awesome, but then we get into like the actual story, which is more about a little boy who comes from an abusive family, and his parents are very mean, but he has an older sister who's wonderful. But then she gets taken away, like in the very beginning. His nice older sister, he loses her, and for the rest of the, for the rest of what I read anyway, he's like just missing her and feels sad that she's gone. He's crying. He's 9 years old. He goes to school, he gets bullied, and I don't think I usually like enjoy these kinds of stories where it's about like a little boy who just has like just everything horrible happening to him, but then he himself is kind of stoic and strong. I'm like, how is he going to be, such a good boy if everyone's being evil to him?
Mhm.
I don't know. Personally, I feel a little doubtful about that. Um, so Maria, like, can we like go off track a little bit? Like, what do you think about these characters who are like just everyone's mean to them everywhere they go, but they themselves are like really good? Is that like does that kind of like turn you off, or what do you think?
Um,
Is it like not very
to
believable?
some degree, I kind of think that if everyone's mean to you, maybe it's you. But I don't know. I love the Little
Yeah, you're held.
Princess. Uh, and I loved Harry Potter. So
Mm,
uh yeah, I mean it depends on how the author does it.
mhm.
You know, it can
Yeah,
be
yeah.
done in an annoying way, or it can be done in a like way that makes you empathize with the character, especially if the people who are mean to them is for something that's not their fault, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Um,
Mm.
but the book is published by something called Atheon Books, um, which so it's not a self-published book. They've got a lot of books in there.
Oh.
Yeah, they focus
Mm.
on science fiction, game lit, fantasy, and superhero books. Um, and they have a lot of books in their catalog and really good looking covers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so that's cool. And the next is Dreamwalker. It's another one I had.
All right,
A
let's
lot.
pull up that cover so that you guys can see it. Um, this one here. Yep.
Yeah.
So when I tell you about this book, it's the first of 8 books in the Blood Legacy series of paranormal romance. The other books are 99 cents to $5 each. And they're all in Kindle Unlimited, except the last one, which is a prequel. So there's the cover, and over to you, Amira.
Um, okay, so this book was just so weird to me. And I also didn't enjoy it. I also didn't really like it. It was kind of, yeah, I didn't really like it. I felt like I was forcing myself to read this. Um, so basically, it is about this special vampire guy and a normal woman who works in a zoo. And this vampire can transform himself. He's also a shapeshifter, right? And his favorite form is to shapeshift into a lion. Um, and so at one point his enemies capture him and they want to, they want to have him killed as a lion by humans. uh and the reason they're going through like all of the like jumping through all these hoops planning this like elaborate humiliating death for him is because his enemy just has been, I don't know, he has an enemy who just hates him a lot. He's the leader of the coven, and his enemy just really wants him to have a really embarrassing death. So as you know there are a couple of, you know, lackeys serving his enemy, trying to carry out this plan for his death. Alex, his name is Alex. The vampire, like he meets the girl. Like, wow, I'm doing a bad job at explaining this. um, what am I saying? Okay, yeah. So as they're setting up his humiliating death, right? They want to make him look like a murderer, right? Like they want to make it look like this lion killed a bunch of people.
Okay.
So they're about to kill a bunch of people at the zoo.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's like at night. So they want to kill a bunch of like workers, people who work at the zoo at night, right? And the protagonist is like, you know, the mind they also have like mind control. So that's another way that they're able to kill people. They're able to like do all these things because they can like, you know, they have mind control, kind of like the guy from uh okay, I forgot what it's called. But yeah. But that's one of the ways they're able to do this stuff. And I'm just like, you know, I'm not really buying it. I feel like um I was taken out of the story, or like I'm unable to like suspend my belief or my disbelief. And yeah, so I'm not impressed. I think that it's yeah, no. So there you go. There's that's what I think. We can move on.
um, all right. Does sound like something I would want to read though.
I kind of doubt it. I mean, go ahead, try. Tell me what you think.
No, I'm
Dare
busy.
you.
I
I
am
dare
work
you.
I am working. I've got a lot of things that I'm really enjoying reading right now. So let's see, let's go on to the next book that I'm going to be doing. I think that's the Crimson Lucre. Lucre.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's
Mhm.
about Martian mining. So I'm a huge fan of Martian exploration development kind of books. I love the Red Mars, Blue Mars, Green Mars trilogy by Kim Stanley Robinson. I love The Martian by Andy Weir, and reviewers have been comparing this book to The Martian. So it starts out with this ship. It's on its way to Mars. It's got people from a mining company on it. And they're going to be mining Mars for rare earth elements because China has the market kind of sewn up here on Earth and has been jacking up prices. So this Canadian mining company wants to find them on Mars, which has a lot of them. So, and this ship got off course. So I had a kind of suspension of disbelief issue going on. So, and I mean, with The Martian, there was some stuff that wasn't strictly speaking realistic either, or kind of like pushed the boundaries a little of the science a little bit. But it was done in a very compelling way. Here, like when things happened, I was always like, really? You know, it didn't really pull me in that much. Like, for example, they come out of their 9-month suspended hibernation kind of thing. I mean, they're all put in a coma for the duration of the trip in order to minimize their exposure to radioactive rays. And I'm like, okay. But when they come out of their suspended animation, they only have 7 days of food. And I'm like, really? That's really cutting it close. It doesn't seem like something, you know, they would do. And they're also a million miles, of course. Really, no one's noticed that they're a million miles off course? And the Canadian company has NASA double check this, and it's like, yeah, they're a million miles off course. Oh no. And I'm like, really? Would that really happen? And so I don't mind those things happening, but it wasn't like told in a super convincing way that this stuff happened. You know, wasn't. It was at the same time hyper realistic, but also like weird, and like it just didn't feel right. So are these organizations that incompetent? but they're not supposed to be incompetent. They're kind of painted as being competent organizations. Why would two competent organizations, this Canadian mining company and NASA, lose track of a ship, you know,
Yeah, it's a problem.
and only have like 7 days of food on board? Like, why? There's like no backups for, like, apparently no backups for anything, you know? So, and they're gonna have to do like a rapid course correction, and it's gonna put stresses on the ship, but it might kill everybody. Like, really, there was no backup plan for this? Like, who the hell are these people? So, so yeah, so I'm not gonna go back to this, even though on paper, it's exactly my kind of book. And the plot itself would be exactly my kind of plot. It just didn't ring true the way it was written. So, but it might ring true for somebody else. It could just be me. You know, it could just be me not buying it. So, so it doesn't mean that like nobody else will. But the next book on the list, that's not it. Here it is. No, that's not it either. Where is it? There it is. Marked by Hell. I love this book. This is my #1 favorite book on this list today. So, this is the first of 5 books in the Mary Wiles Chronicles urban fantasy series. And I forgot to tell you, the previous book, the Mars one, this one, it's also the first in this series, but it's the only book out so far, and it's the author's debut novel. So it could get better as he writes more books, but none of the other books are out yet, so we don't know. And it doesn't say how many of those books are going to be out there. So, and he might never get around to writing them if this book doesn't go well either. So that's another reason why I don't want to invest in this book, because the other books haven't been written yet, and by the time they do come out, I'll have forgotten all about this one. So, all right, so on to the next one, Marked by Hell. So I love this book, urban fantasy, kick-ass, everything I like. Mary is used to be an angel, and she used to have wings, and things happened, and she's now in Los Angeles. As you know, who hasn't had that happen to them? And so, but she's got to pay the bills. So she's like doing some little bit of paranormal work, exorcising demons, and using her powers like for other things too, like, you know, tracking down cheating spouses as a private investigator. And she's on call with the LAPD when they have weird stuff happen. And so in the first chapter, she exorcises a demon from a Catholic priest, goes home to wash off the gross stuff with some holy water. And the LAPD calls her. They have a body, like a ritually messed up kind of body, and the occult is involved. So they call her in. So I love everything about this book. She's snarky. There's tons of action. There's a police procedural element, which I love. I really like this book. I'm definitely gonna keep reading it, even though the other books in this series cost money. They're $5 each. They're not on Kindle Unlimited, but I do like this style, and I think there's a good chance I'm gonna like pay money and read more of these books. I'm having a lot of fun with them. Yep, I recommend them highly. And the next book was mine as well. It's called Duel of Fire. It's set in a fantasy world. Dara is the daughter of her parents have a shop where they make things using fire magic. She herself doesn't have magic. She goes to school where she's training to be a sword fighter, but like athletic style sword fighting, kind of like Olympic level, but in a fantasy world. So it's a sport because the whole country has been at peace for decades. So nobody really actually fights with swords. It's a sport. And so people duel, and it's not to the death. There's a point system, and she's in school learning how to do this. And she just kind of graduated into the adult leagues, and there's a big competition coming up. Meanwhile, her parents are having some business trouble, and they need her to help out in the shop with the bookkeeping, and she doesn't want to do that. So this is a young adult story. She wants to spend more time in the school and competing, and maybe go pro as an athlete, as a sword fighter. And they want to keep her in this in their shop. And her coach, her team's coach, also takes private clients teaching nobles, and he wants her to go and do some sparring with one of his clients, who is the prince of this country, who thinks he's really good at sword fighting, and he's not. And the coach thinks that he's going to get himself killed through overconfidence. So he wants Dara to come and basically, humiliate this guy and make him realize that, he's not as good a sword fighter as he thinks he is. So that's the setup for this. And there's some politics going on in the country. So it's definitely well written. If you like this genre of book, it's a great book. It's a series. This is the first of 5 books. The other books are $4 to $5 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. If you like this kind of book, very readable, very worth reading. The characters all seem fully developed and interesting and realistic. Definitely compelling. I believed everything that was happening in this book. But it's not for me. I don't like young adult people. I don't like schools. I don't like student banter. I've had my share of it way back when. I don't want to do it again. Her having to decide between her family obligations and the dreams that she wants to pursue as an athlete. I couldn't care less about it. But that's just me. That's just me. The book itself is just totally fun and awesome. And if you like these books, I recommend it. But myself, I don't like these books, and there wasn't enough other stuff in there to pull me in and make me want to keep reading it. So, and that's it for today's stuff. That's all 10 books that we had in our list. So I want to thank our Patreon supporters. Here's their names behind me here. We exist thanks to the kind support of the people who fund us. The money helps pay for original fiction on the MetaStellar website. So all of our content is always free, thanks to support of people like you. So if you like this content, please hit like and subscribe, and check out our Patreon page. We will be adding some exclusives for our Patreon supporters as well. And there's a couple of them already up there, so you can go check it out. All right. So yeah.
Before we finish up, which I mean, I don't know, I guess maybe we kind of are. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So did you actually read all the Shannon Mayer books?
Yes. Oh my God. I read like 2 or 3 of the Kicks ones. I read all 3 of another set. I think I've read 6 or 7 books already. I love her books. I'm like powering through them. They're like potato chips. They're awesome. They are awesome. I love them. And in fact, I'm going to go back to my review from last week, and I'm going to add some of the little updates things in there.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yep. What about you?
Which one? No, I didn't. I haven't. I think I looked at maybe the first page of one of Shannon Mayer's books. So But I did download like all the ones that were free from last week. Would you recommend any for me, knowing my taste?
Well, I only read Shannon Mayer books. So first of all, because those are the ones that I had. And she had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books
Mhm.
on the list last week. So half of the list was hers.
Yeah.
I really recommend them all. If you like urban fantasy, kind of kick-ass books,
Uh-huh.
uh, I really recommend them. They're all in Kindle Unlimited. So I didn't even have to think twice before just download the next one in each series. Some of them have romance. Some of them are more focused on action. I haven't read the fantasy one yet. The ones that I've been reading have been the Nyx series of books, and the not the Desert Cursed ones, but I have been reading the Riley Adamson series as well. So
Riley Adamson.
those are both of those series are urban fantasy and very kick-ass, and I'm enjoying them a lot. No shape-shifting romances here. Sorry. And they're definitely not young adult books. This is like a middle-aged woman with a kid and a husband or an ex-husband. He's dead now. Who's kind of like midlife, and has a very kind of solid career behind her as a monster assassin, followed by 10 years of like peaceful family life. So yeah, I totally identify with her.
Oh my God. You know what's funny? I think that I would probably prefer the fantasy stuff that she's written over the urban fantasy. The Desert Cursed.
Yeah. So the Desert Cursed, I get the feel that the protagonists are a little younger in that. And it's snarkier and it's funnier. So the other two are a little more grimmer because like her kid is killed, all this stuff. So the Desert Curse seems like more fun. And I definitely am looking forward to that too, but I've got a lot of books ahead of me before I get there.
So can you tell me some of them? Because like you said earlier, like, oh, I'm busy. I'm busy reading books that I really like earlier.
Well,
So
yeah, the
which ones are
Shannon
you
Meyer books. I'm reading those.
Okay, cool. Because I was just wondering, like, what else? What other books are there? What? Which, I know there's a lot of books, but I was just wondering, like, what
Right.
else you were
And
excited
then
about.
I do plan to be finishing the Marked by Hell book, which is series. So probably gonna read those too. It's a lot of fun. I do like it. So that's kind of, and I still have the Will Wright books from a couple of weeks back. It's still on my Kindle shelf. So I'm all set with leisure reading for quite a while.
Okay. All right. I got it.
All right. What about
Okay.
you? Have you went back and read any of the books from last week?
No. Oh, I hated like all the books from. I think there was only one that I liked. What did I like? I feel like that. No, I think I hated all. Did I hate all of them?
Yeah,
No,
and I
I think I
loved
read
all of
3 books
mine.
last week.
So the lesson here is that
Yeah.
the top 10 free ebook list can
Mhm,
be awesome, can be and everything in between. So
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. No. Oh, my reading in general just decreased a lot last week. Or no, this week, I guess that would mean. I just haven't been reading that much in general. So I'm gonna try to kick it up a notch or two.
yep.
Mm.
Uh,
Anyway, it's been a pleasure, but yeah, we could like call it a session.
yeah, the other thing I'm checking right now is who her publisher is.
Mhm,
I know some of her books are self-published, but she's also made the USA Today bestseller list.
mhm,
Oh, she's published with Hijinks Publishing, a boutique publisher.
mhm,
So So it's a small publishing house, but it's a publishing house. Yeah. So yeah, so it's not just self-published authors, it's like everything. And
Cool.
she made USA Today bestseller list. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. And
Yep. Oh yeah. I'm so totally gonna like continue reading that Western, by the way.
oh, okay.
And if I am horribly disappointed, I'll probably add an update. And if I'm delighted, then I'll add it either way.
All right. Okay.
Recording.
Oh, and the Hijinks Publishing also publishes Denise Grover Swank, who's also made all the bestseller lists, including New York Times bestsellers lists and Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller lists. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, so we definitely have some really fantastic high quality books on this list. So you can get some fantastic reading done without paying a cent.
I'm
All
also
right.
probably gonna read the Wild Wolf.
right. Yeah.
It was good. Like I really feel like you can any idea you can make it really good or you can make it kind of lousy.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
It's all about the execution. And just because something sounds good on paper, it doesn't mean you're gonna like it, or if it sounds bad on paper, it doesn't mean you're gonna hate it. Because if depending on how the author approaches it. Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
So again, I want to thank our Patreon supporters. For those of you who've submitted your fiction to our fall submission window, you should have gotten a letter or should be getting a letter within a week telling you about your status. We've had about 400 submissions, and then we're going to start publishing stories soon afterwards. So keep an eye out for that. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. See you next Friday.